Hello everybody, my name is Solus Convoy and we are back again with another review. Today I'm taking a look at Newage H47P Sling blade, which I believe is their interpretation of a sunbow-ish bulkhead. Real quick look at the box, and I mean quick, typical Newage design for the basic cartoon guys, same box style. Some pics of the guy on the top, on the sides, on the back. Boring usual box, nothing special about this one. Onto the figure itself. This is a retool of their Inferno mold. It's a heavy retool as well, with an entirely new backpack assembly to turn into an entirely different alt mode. Other than that, the only other retooling is a new head and neck assembly, and they removed the hoses here, but I don't think there's any other significant retooling done to the figure. A lot of their surface details are similar. I think these shoulder details are also new, but other than that, he's very much identical in terms of sculpt, but there's significant molding differences. On the figure himself, he does look pretty good. His finish feels a bit more, I don't know how to describe this, matte than the average Newage release. Like the green is slightly glossy, but the gray is like completely flat. And the green is definitely not as like pearlescent or as, you know, vibrant as your usual Newage product, I think. I really like how they've done this windshield, which I think is not solid. As you can see, like glints light from the front, like it's translucent, so I wonder if it's translucent plastic backed by some type of paint, or if it's just like partially translucent, very low amount of translucence. So just next to Artfire, which is the most apt comparison because it's the other version of this mold I own, probably not when this review will be published, but as you can see, Bulkhead lacks a lot of surface detail and paint compared to his mold brother. Artfire is covered in these tampographs that are all expertly done. You can see how his paint just like shines in comparison with that gloss. So he's definitely way more vibrant. He's a pearlescent white finish for his chest. And of course, I mean, the head design is you know, Bulkhead's head, the main difference is that Bulkhead, you can get a huge up range. He's a neck, which is really rare for Newage figures. They usually just have a ball joint. So a hinge neck assembly like an MP is really cool to see, but Artfire, on the other hand, has a static horizontal swivel. Compromise of the design, of course. But yeah, I mean, he definitely does feel really underpainted and under detailed compared to something like Artfire or EX Inferno. But the trade-offs, right? Other than that, I mean, I do prefer this windshield a lot. I definitely think this is what they should have gone for from the beginning. These should have been darker. They were a bit too light, but I definitely do think the paint details on this guy just kind of blow Bulkhead out of the water. Bulkhead feels almost naked, really. Like this is left unpainted, this is unpainted. There's no tampos anywhere, where compared to Artfire, who has all this detail, he just does feel a bit underwhelming. I've already covered the major articulation difference. So it's just like the head here is on a hinge assembly, so it can get a great range up. Speaking of the head sculpt is very much of a you either love it or you hate it. The chin strap is meant to emulate the lower jaw of animated Bulkhead, and I like it. I think it's a cool design choice, but the actual face itself is kind of underwhelming. So I'm 50-50 on it. I know a lot of people don't like it. I don't blame them. I don't know if it was executed the best, but I do really like the concept, so it works for me. But it doesn't mean it'll work for you, right? So I definitely do think Artfire is more palpable head. Other articulation points, you can like freely manipulate these right now, and they are actually going to affect the abdominal crunch. So the ab crunch for this guy is a bit trickier to get going than it was on Artfire. You kind of just have to, it is very tricky actually. So you kind of just have to pull that down. And it doesn't really feel, it feels like there's like some resistance when you do it, like there's bending plastic, because the plastic used in these assemblies is nylon, whereas on Artfire you have this really nice die cast piece right here that Bulkhead loses, and using the ab crunch feels much more like a very clean motion where you see where everything is going. Artfire is also definitely cleaner from the back, right? Compared to BULKHEAD's giant assembly, and Artfire is storing an entire ladder in his chest. So the engineering definitely does feel more rewarding on the intended mold. But other than that, general articulation, you know, the shoulders are unimpeded, right? They can clash with these wings, but you can articulate those. They have a decent range out. You can always cheat by untapping this for more range, by the way. You can get well past 90 on the bicep, on the elbow, you have the bicep swivel, and then you also have the wrist swivel. You have the ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, knee that goes almost to 180, and then a bit of front and back at the ankle, and then a great ankle tilt. So sorry, I'm kind of speeding through the articulation, but I've already done it for Artfire, so it's not exactly a big change, right? And the accessories are almost the same as Artfire, except he has way less. His only main accessory is just the Wrecking Ball, which is based off of the Transformers Prime design, I think, instead of animated. That is much more TFP BULKHEAD. And he has two pairs of hands. One is the open hand he's using right now, and the other is this weird fist trigger finger hybrid that was only used on this mold and this mold alone, and Newage retired immediately, which is a great idea because I don't like it. It looks weird unless it's holding a gun. Whereas the regular Newage fist, which I actually don't have a figure with it on right now on me, but the regular Newage fist can pass as like a fist and a gun holding hand, which I kind of prefer for multitasking. But yeah, that's pretty much the review for robot mode. I do think the changes here are going to show up more in alt mode. You definitely feel like the space in his chest where the ladder used to go is going to feel left empty now. And he definitely does feel a bit underpainted. He doesn't pop like Artfire or SG Grapple, or EX Grapple or Inferno do. He really does feel a bit naked, but I guess he wouldn't look out of place in A2 in display. But yeah, I'm gonna get this guy transformed, and we'll take a look at him in his alternate mode after I do the size comparisons. So here he is with the other Newage animated release, Wasp, and here he is with Newage's Depth Charge, and here he is with Cyberverse Dark of the Moon Legends class Flak. So yeah, Titan mold is not super large, I think, but it's a decent size. So I will get this guy transformed, and then we'll do alternate mode comparisons. Alright, so here he is in his alternate mode next to Artfire and Cyberverse Flak, just for a quick size comparison. And I guess Wasp. But the main comparison I wanted to make is between the two mold mates. So looking at them immediately, you can see how much the cover kind of changes the profile. And these two really do have a lot of strengths and weaknesses, both the conversion and the alternate mode. Artfire has a lot more details, which really supplant both modes. I think it's a wasted opportunity that BULKHEAD is so naked in comparison, but a lot of his details are actually on the backpack and they don't show up in robot mode. And they kind of shine here, like these windows and this roof detail and these black circles. But Artfire really does have a lot more of these details, but one of the things about Artfire is that his alt mode feels a bit more incomplete because it's not filled in here. However, it is infinitely easier to transform Artfire because you can see where everything is lining up. It is so much easier to line stuff up, whereas with BULKHEAD, you kind of have to just go and do everything from like the underneath as you slide the arms in. Like you have to do 3 things at once to get into BULKHEAD's alt mode, and it's not great. Artfire is definitely easier to transform, but I think BULKHEAD looks better in alternate mode, and it's really just going to come down to preference. The reason I'm comparing these two is because I have them, but because I think they're the best uses of the mold. Of course, Artfire has a lot more paint, he has a lot more tampos, and he comes with a target master, but BULKHEAD has a ton of retooling, so it's just going to be a battle between which you like most. I really do like these red rims on Artfire. I think they pop a bit more than the green rims on Bulkhead, but those also look great. I also do wish they'd replace the hose with something instead of just leaving this bland, like maybe like a, I don't know, like a container box of some kind. But that is what it is. Both of these, you know, they roll pretty well. They hold together well. I think Bulkhead holds together a bit better, but he's also a lot harder to get there. So yeah, the alternate modes look pretty good. Basically, moving on to my final thoughts, this video is basically existing not just to review Bulkhead, but to review the mold in general. Again, I'm a huge fan of this mold. The transformation is slick, it's fun, it's intuitive. Bulkhead is a bit harder because of the things going on with the backpack, but I think he pays off for it with a good alternate mode. However, he does feel a little bit limited in the accessories department, but you could say that most of the budget went towards the heavy retooling to give him an entirely new transformation. Artfire really does have a lot more value, though. I think that I paid more for Bulkhead than I did for Artfire because I bought him late. But even at retail, I think they were the same price, and Artfire is definitely, I think, better value. He's a Target master, a ton of paint apps. And his paint looks a lot better. I have to admit that red paint really pops in a way that Bulkhead's green doesn't necessarily. But I think Bulkhead's a great figure on his own right. He looks great with Wasp, the other animated figure. But I guess the main criticism is just the head sculpt is very controversial. It's definitely a, like, you either love it or you hate it type head sculpt. And I don't really blame anyone for disliking it. I think I really appreciate the concept they were going for, which is turning the animated jaw into a chin strap. I think that's a genius idea, but I don't think the execution with the rest of the face went so well. I think they might have borrowed a bit from TFP, which I think is really a mistake when trying to emulate a new design. I think they should have been a bit more original with the face. I think the face is really what drags it down, because the chin strap idea, again, I love it a lot. I really like how they fixed the windows. I love the neck. I would love more Newage figures to have dedicated necks. It just makes the poses look better. It makes them look better proportionally. It's more fun. It's great. Ball joints are good, but dedicated necks are awesome. And yeah, I like the alt mode a lot more, actually. Inferno's alt mode or Artfire has always felt a bit like unfinished to me. I'm not a huge fan of the collapsing ladder, but I get it's a must-have to have the tuned look with no ladder. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Bulkhead. I recommend him, but if you don't like the face, then definitely go for Artfire if you want to copy this mold. So basically another recommendation for Artfire. I have an Artfire review on my channel as well. But yeah, really the only thing this guy has over Artfire objectively is just the windows on this guy are definitely a better approach. They hide the internal mechanics of the screws. And if that bothers you, then Bulkhead is the way to go. Thanks guys for tuning in. This is Souls Convoy. Catch you guys later. Peace.